Hello and welcome to Transformers Lore. Today we'll be covering the early timeline of Malgus 1207.26 Alpha, a universe known for being the location where the Transformers animated cartoon takes place. The information given here comes from the Transformers animated The Allspark Almanac, specifically the complete Allspark Almanac. It should be noted that the Malgus cluster is different from the rest of the multiverse because Primus does not exist here and Cybertron is not part of a particular multiversal singularity. However, there is still Primus worship in the Malgus cluster. The timeline is broken down into Cybertronian measurements of time, so let me give you a little conversion lesson. In this universe, a nanoclick is defined as the duration of an 8,589,934,592 periods of the radiation corresponding to the transition between two hyperfine levels of the ground state of the cesium-133 atom. For those who don't know their temporal science, a human second is the time that elapses during a 9,192,631,770 cycles of radiation produced by the transition between two levels of the cesium-133 atom. Basically, what this all means is a nanoclick is pretty close to a second. A cycle is 100 nanoclicks, so about 1.5 minutes, while a megacycle is 100 cycles, or 2.6 hours. A solar cycle is 10 megacycles, and is about a day. A decacycle is 10 stellar cycles, while an orbital cycle is 32 solar cycles, which is about a month. A stellar cycle, which this timeline is going to be measured in, is 320 solar cycles, which is about a year. Now that we have our units of time, let's get into the timeline. Around 10 billion stellar cycles ago, based on evidence found by Cybertronian chronometric techniques, Cybertron came into existence. 8 billion stellar cycles ago, the oldest artifacts created by Cybertronian servos were made. According to the Cybertronian cultural mythology of this universe, it was the Allspark that created the Transformers, and as such, the artifact is prominent in many different etchings of ancient Cybertronian culture. 7 billion stellar cycles ago, the earliest surviving written language, cyberglyphics, comes into existence. With this new writing language, we have records of the legend that the container for the Allspark was forged by the Magnus Hammer. It's an important artifact for leadership for the Cybertronians. 6 billion stellar cycles ago, the first Cybertronian War broke out. The Cybertronians band together to fight an adversary, known only as the adversary from beyond the sky. The war is fought for 13 million stellar cycles, and once the invaders are repelled, Cybertron enters a golden age and colonizes the Hadin system. However, isolationism within Cybertronian society leads to Cybertron not expanding any further. 4 billion stellar cycles ago is when the second Cybertronian war broke out. Ariex, the leader of the Malignus military caste, tried to overthrow the ruling body of Cybertron, a faction known as the Guardians. The war lasts for 3 million stellar cycles and ends the Golden Age. The Guardians are successful in putting down the Malignus rebellion, and much of Hadin's system is ravaged during the war, and reconstruction lasts almost 3 times as long than the war itself. 2 billion stellar cycles ago, Xemon Magnus is running Cybertron as the leader of the Guardians. However, the Protectons, which serve as the private guard to Magnus, launch a coup which lands them as the leaders of Cybertron. Over time, they become Cybertron's new ruling body, known as the Protectobots. 1 billion stellar cycles ago, the third Cybertronian War breaks out when the Protectobots, under the command of Nova Magnus, attempt to remove all undesirable elements and information from society. This move is opposed by a collection of factions, including the remnants of the Malignus. They all come together under the command of the charismatic Devron, and form a faction called the Destrons. The Destrons and Protectobots go to war, which lasts 17 million stellar cycles. The war ends in an uneasy peace treaty that favors the Destrons. One of the war's most important result was the loss of much data in the Protectobots' Great Purge that was put to an end by the Destrons. 750 million stellar cycles ago, a group within the Protectobots called the Autobots rise and advocate for the expansion of Cybertronian territory, which begins the Age of Expansion. The Age of Expansion would end 300 million stellar cycles ago after several border skirmishes with the Quintesson Pan-Galactic Co-Prosperity Sphere. Many Destron soldiers serve in these border skirmishes, and they feel that they are not being treated well by the newly established Autobot Commonwealth, as the Autobots reap the benefits while the Destrons fight and die. 70 million stellar cycles ago, a faction within the Destrons called the Decepticons advocate the use of the Allspark to turn Cybertron itself into a massive robot capable of defending itself. The Decepticons are under the command of Megazarak at the time. 14 million stellar cycles ago, a Decepticon by the name of Megatron defeats Megazarak and sends him into exile. Megatron rallies many warriors to join the Decepticon cause with his inflammatory rhetoric. 12 million stellar cycles ago, Ultra Prime is sworn in as the leading Magnus of Cybertron, Ultra Magnus. There are increased tensions between Megatron's Decepticons and the Autobot Commonwealth government, and Ultra Magnus' first act is to pass the Decepticon Registration Act. 10 million stellar cycles ago, the Great War begins between the Autobot Commonwealth and the Decepticon Empire. The Great War is an event that deserves its own video, and thus, that will be a video for another day.
She's a brick